Last week, I got a call no one wants to receive. A close friend of mine, 62 years old, retired, played golf every weekend, had passed away suddenly. He didn't die in a car accident. He didn't have cancer. He didn't even have any major health issues, as far as we knew. It was a stroke. And the most painful part? He had been showing signs for weeks. Tired all the time. Sometimes slurred his words. Even told his wife one morning that his arm felt funny. But he brushed it off. Said it was just age. Or stress. He didn't want to make a fuss. By the time he collapsed at home, it was too late. Now I can't help but wonder. What if someone had told him? What if he had known what those warning signs actually meant? That's why we're here today. Because knowing the signs of a stroke before it happens could save your life, or the life of someone you love. So before you click away, let me share with you the warning signs that often show up weeks or even months before a stroke strikes. And more importantly, what to do when they do. You might be thinking, if a stroke happens suddenly, how could I possibly know it's coming? Well, that's exactly what most people believe. But here's the truth. The body often whispers before it screams. In many cases, stroke doesn't just strike out of nowhere. There are subtle warning signs, weeks, even months in advance. But here's the challenge. They don't always look like the big dramatic moments we see on TV. No sudden collapse, no shouting for help. Instead, they show up quietly, in the way you walk, in how tired you feel, even in how clearly you speak. So the question is, would you notice? Would your spouse notice? And more importantly, would you know what to do? Because when it comes to stroke, time isn't just important, it's everything. Instead of waiting and wondering, what if you could recognize those early signs and take action before it's too late? That's what this video is about, not just education, but preparation. Because prevention doesn't start in the hospital. It starts with what you know today, and what you choose to do with that knowledge. Let's keep going. Before we dive into the signs, we need to understand what a stroke actually is. Because the more clearly we see the threat, the faster we'll act when it's real. So here's the simple truth. A stroke happens when blood flow to the brain is interrupted. That might be from a blockage, like a clot, or from a blood vessel that bursts, what we call a hemorrhagic stroke. Either way, the result is the same. Parts of the brain are suddenly starved of oxygen. And without oxygen, brain cells start to die. Fast. Not over hours. Not even over minutes. Every minute, an untreated stroke can kill nearly 2 million brain cells. That's why it's called a brain attack. Just like a heart attack, but in your brain. And just like a heart attack, the faster you respond, the better the outcome. Every second counts. Every decision matters. So instead of thinking, maybe I'll wait and see, you need to be thinking, how fast can I get help? Because the brain doesn't wait. It doesn't pause until you're sure. It just shuts down, bit by bit, until the damage is done. That's why today's video could be the most important one you'll watch this year. Not because it scares you, but because it prepares you. Let's take a closer look at the early warning signs, the quiet alarms your body might already be ringing. Let's walk through the signs your body might be sending, long before a stroke takes full control. You don't have to experience all of them. Even one could be enough to act. So stay with me here. Listen closely. 1. Unusual, lingering fatigue. Have you felt more tired than usual lately? Not the, I stayed up too late kind of tired, but a deep, nagging fatigue. even after a full night's rest. This type of exhaustion is your body waving a red flag. Why? Because the brain might not be getting enough oxygen or blood flow. And when your brain isn't getting what it needs, it lets you know. Instead of pushing through it like it's nothing, think of it as your body's quiet way of asking for help. 2. Persistent headaches, especially new or strange ones. We all get headaches, but strokes often come with headaches that are different. Sudden, sharp, long-lasting, maybe even the worst headache you've ever had. Don't ignore it just because it goes away with a nap or a pill. A headache without a clear cause, especially if it's new, could be your brain under stress. It's not just age. It could be something more. 3. Vision trouble. Imagine waking up and noticing you can't see well out of one eye, or your vision is blurry, or doubled. That's not a smudge on your glasses. That could be your brain struggling. A recent study from the UK showed that routine eye exams can actually detect warning signs of stroke. Why? Because your eye's blood vessels are like windows into your brain. So instead of waiting for things to clear up, think of sudden vision changes as a reason to speak up. 4. Numbness or weakness, especially on one side. This is one of the most well-known signs. But here's the tricky part. It can come and go. You might wake up with a dead arm and think you just slept wrong. But if one side of your body feels weaker, numb, or uncoordinated, that could be a TIA, a mini-stroke. And that's often a warning shot before the real one. It's your only chance to act before permanent damage sets in. 5. Slurred speech or trouble understanding others. Have you ever felt like your tongue just wouldn't cooperate? Or that words sounded jumbled, even when they came from someone else? Speech is controlled by specific parts of the brain. When those areas are deprived of oxygen, even for a moment, you'll notice the difference. This is when the BE FAST method becomes a lifesaver. Balance, eyes, face, arms, speech, time. If something feels off, even for a few seconds, it's time to act. Because instead of saying, "Maybe I'll wait and see," you'll know exactly what to look for. And you'll know why every minute matters. These signs may seem small, but together, they're the early whispers of something serious. And the sooner you respond, the better your chances. So now, let's look at how one couple's quick action made all the difference. Let me tell you about Susan and Mike. They're in their late 60s, retired, enjoying the slow mornings and grandkids' visits, the kind of couple that still holds hands when they walk. One afternoon, Mike came into the kitchen and said, "Something's wrong with my arm. It feels heavy." He slumped into the chair. Susan asked him a question, and his words came out slow, slurred. Not the Mike she knew. Now here's the key. Susan didn't wait. She didn't say, "Let's give it an hour." She didn't tell him to go lie down. She remembered an article she read about stroke warning signs, and she remembered that time equals brain. So she called 911, and that decision changed everything. By the time paramedics arrived, Mike was barely able to stand, but he got treatment fast. Blood thinners, monitoring, care. Today, he walks, he talks, he plays with his grandchildren. He's not the same as before, but he's here. All because Susan knew the signs, and she acted without hesitation. Now, I want you to ask yourself something. If your spouse showed one of those signs, would you recognize it? Would you know what to do? And if it was you, would your loved ones? Because Mike didn't feel pain. He didn't collapse on the floor. He just felt off. And that tiny off moment almost stole his future. But instead of brushing it off, Susan turned knowledge into action and gave her husband a second chance at life. That's what I want for you and for everyone you care about. Now let's talk about prevention. Because knowing the signs is powerful, but what if you could stop a stroke from happening in the first place? Let me ask you, when was the last time you really thought about how your daily habits affect your brain? Not just your heart, not just your waistline, but your brain, your memory, your balance, your ability to speak. Here's what the science tells us. 1. Blood pressure is the big one. High blood pressure is the #1 controllable risk factor for stroke. Not number 2, not number 3, number 1. So if you haven't had your blood pressure checked recently, start there. Even if you feel fine, even if it was normal last year. Because strokes often hit people who felt fine yesterday. 2. Stay socially connected. This one might surprise you. A 12-year study of over 8,000 adults over 50 found that chronic loneliness increases your stroke risk by up to 56%. That's right, 56%. So instead of thinking connection is just nice to have, understand it as life-saving. Pick up the phone, go to church, meet your neighbors, volunteer. Your brain needs people as much as it needs oxygen. 3. Move your body gently but consistently. You don't have to run marathons. You don't have to hit the gym 5 days a week. A 30-minute walk most days of the week can improve blood flow, balance, and mental clarity. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. 4. Eat like your brain depends on it, because it does. Less salt, less saturated fat, more leafy greens, more berries, more fish. This isn't a fad diet. This is fuel for your brain's survival. 5. Quit smoking. Limit alcohol. You've heard it before, but let me put it plainly. Smoking damages your blood vessels. Alcohol in excess raises your blood pressure. Both are like pouring gasoline on a fire you didn't even know was burning. And here's a newer one. 6. Get your eyes checked. Yes, your eyes. A recent study in the UK used artificial intelligence to scan eye images from over 45,000 people. They found 29 markers that could predict stroke risk just by looking at blood vessels in the retina. So instead of waiting for symptoms, what if a simple eye test could give you a head start? Preventing stroke isn't about fear. It's about awareness. It's about choosing small things each day that move you in the right direction. Because instead of saying, "It's too late," you'll be saying, "I'm glad I made that change when I did." You have more power than you think, and your future self will thank you for it. Before we wrap up, let me ask you something. Have you seen any of these signs in yourself or in someone close to you? Have you brushed them off? Said, "It's probably nothing"? Now you know better. You've learned the signs. You've heard the stories. You understand the risk and the power you hold to stop it. So here's what I'd like you to do. If anything in this video felt familiar, write it down. Don't trust your memory. Write down the symptoms. Write down the BE FAST checklist. Then talk about it with your spouse, with your kids, with your doctor. Because when stroke hits, silence is not your friend. Instead of keeping quiet, speak up. And here's something else. Your story might help someone else. So go down to the comments and tell us, have you or someone you love ever experienced a warning sign like the ones we talked about? What did you do? What do you wish you had done? Because sometimes the best prevention isn't just education, it's conversation. If this video helped you, please take a moment to like it, share it, and subscribe. We're building a community that looks out for one another, and you're a part of that. So let's stay informed. Let's stay connected. And most of all, let's stay healthy. We'll see you in the next video.